The heartbeat of it was so ominous, dude. Seems about right. He's so badass. He reminds me so much of Sargeras. The wings and chest and everything, dude. Fuck yeah. And the sword. I mean, I understand that that's the Darkin, but yeah, it's wicked, dude. I can't believe I hadn't watched that yet. All right. Nice. So that was their teaser 6 years ago. Now I'm going to watch the story of Aatrox explained, because I don't think I've seen this.
Whether mistaken for a demon or god, many tales have been told of the Darkin Blade, but few know his real name, or the story of his fall. Hello everyone and welcome to another story you are probably too lazy to read. This time we will have a look at Aatrox, the Darkin, and where the Darkin came from.
He said another story you were probably too lazy to read. Yo, it's toxic, but it's so true.
Because probably at this point you are waiting for far too long, let's go right into it. In ancient times, long before desert sands swallowed the Empire, a mighty champion of Shurima was brought before the Sun Disk to become the avatar for a now forgotten celestial ideal. Remade as one of the Ascended, his wings were the golden light of dawn, and his armor sparkled like a constellation of hope from beyond the Great Veil. Aatrox was his name.
That's pretty fucking wild, man. It's actually so funny because there's a similar kind of storyline with the character Sargeras in World of Warcraft, where he's like the noble, virtuous defender of the Pantheon or whatever, and then he falls to darkness due to being corrupted by demons, which I'm pretty sure his blade was the vessel for the corruption to a degree. So it's very similar. It's part of why I love Aatrox so much already. Yeah, the fallen angel trope. Absolutely. Yep. It's exactly that.
We are only few sentences into the story and it is already important to note that we are indeed talking about the Shuriman Ascended. Notice how their description is very close to that of the Targonians. You have the wings of Aatrox that are sparkling with constellations, and then you have the cloak of Pantheon that is shimmering with stars.
Yeah.
As we go forward in these stories, notice how they are very similar indeed. He was at the vanguard of every noble conflict. So true and just was his conduct that other god warriors would always gather at his side. And 10,000 mortals of Shurima marched behind him. When Setaka, the Ascended Warrior Queen, called for his help against the rebellion of Icathia, Aatrox answered without hesitation. But no one predicted the extent of the horrors that the rebels would unleash.
It's also very fitting because Sargeras goes to war against the Void in World of Warcraft 2. So a similar thing, Sargeras's exposure to the old gods, which are basically like Voidborn, like made from like the Watchers, which are like the Void Lords in World of Warcraft. And it drives him fucking insane. And he goes on a massive burning crusade to basically eradicate all life in the cosmos. He's like the undefeated champion of the Pantheon. He's like never lost a battle. So it's like, you know, it's quite similar to what happens with Aatrox. I like it.
The Void quickly overwhelmed its Icathian masters and began the grinding annihilation of all life it encountered. After many years of desperate battle, Aatrox and his brethren finally halted the Void's perverse advance and sealed the largest rifts shut. But the surviving Ascended, the self-described Sunborn, had been forever changed by what they had encountered. Though Shurima had triumphed, they all had lost something in their victory, even noble Aatrox. And in time, Shurima fell, as all empires must. So, we have the Shuriman Ascended fighting back the Void, and those who survived called themselves the Sunborn. But even though they had won, they were changed by these horrors. I hope you see where this is going. Without any monarch to defend, or the existential threat of the Void to test them, Aatrox and the Sunborn began to clash with one another, and eventually this became a war for the ruins of their world. Mortals fleeing the conflict came to know them instead by a new and scornful name, the Darkin. fearing that these fallen Ascended were as dangerous to Runeterra survival as the Void incursions had been.
The Darkin, to me, is like one of the coolest concepts. One of my favorite things that I've seen in League of Legends so far. I love the Darkin stuff. The Darkin, Blood Magic, Zolani. It's fucking sick, dude. The whole concept of the entity bound into the weapon and it serving as a corrupting or dominating force is so sick. It's so sick.
Argonians intervened. It is said that the aspect of Twilight gave mortals the knowledge to trap the Darkin, and the newly reborn aspect of war united many in fighting back against them. Never fearing any foe, Aatrox and his armies were ready, and he realized only too late that they had been deceived. A force greater than 1,000 dead suns pulled him inside the sword he had carried into battle countless times, and forever bound his immortal essence to it. The weapon was a prison, sealing his consciousness in suffocating eternal darkness, robbing him even of the ability to die.
And who's that character that's in possession of the relic that was used to entrap them? I know isn't Zoe part of it? And isn't there an Severe? That's right. Isn't she the daughter of Azir? Descendant of. Not necessarily a daughter. Oh, right, because it's been some years. Because Azir died a long time ago. Granddaughter, like, okay, my bad.
For centuries, he strained against this hellish confinement, until some nameless mortal was foolish enough to try and wield the blade once more. Aatrox seized upon this opportunity, forcing his will and an imitation of his original form onto his bearer, though the process quickly drained all life from the new body. In the years that followed, Aatrox groomed many more hosts, men and women of exceptional vitality and fortitude. Though his grasp of such magics had been limited in life, he learned to take control of a mortal in the span of a single breath. And in battle, he discovered he could feast on his victims to build himself even larger and stronger.
So, to explain everything that happened.
That dirty ass blood magic. Thanks, Zolani, you fucking bitch. Everyone just blame it all on Zolani. We know the truth. It's all her fault.
The Sunborn without an empire and without void spawns to slay. Being already touched by the abyss, it was easier for them to start a war amongst themselves.
Right, they were already mad.
It was a war for power and for leadership. But again, notice how Targon played a big role in manipulating the Darkin. Pantheon united all the people to fight them back. The aspect of Twilight gave people the means to seal them. And the Darkin were sealed with the power of 1,000 dead suns. And we all know a dragon whose punishment were dead suns.
Dead suns. Makes me think of, man, I can't really think about the concept of dead suns without thinking of, like, the void in World of Warcraft. Like, collapsing stars or, like, shit like that is really interesting. You can get, like, black holes out of that and stuff like that. The concept of, like, being imprisoned with the power of, like, black holes and shit is, like, whoa. Like, that's... Damn. Talk about, like, you get sucked into the fucking event horizon and you can, like, never escape it. This is Aatrox? He looks badass, dude. What the fuck?
To me, it seems like Targon created the Ascended with the purpose of fighting back the Void. But without the Void, the Ascended have no purpose.
I understand that it's a skin. Yeah, I know it's not, like, canon. I'm just saying that's a cool Aatrox skin.
But that's just a theory, so let's keep going.
What did he say?
It seems like Targon created, and we all know a dragon whose punishment were dead suns. To me, it seems like Targon created the Ascended with the purpose of fighting back the Void. But without the Void, the Ascended have no purpose. But that's just a theory, so let's keep going.
Aatrox traveled the land, searching desperately, endlessly, for a way to return to his previous Ascended form. But the riddle of the blade proved unsolvable. And in time, he realized he would never be free of it. The flesh he stole and crudely shaved began to feel like a mockery of his former glory. A cage only slightly larger than the sword. Despair and loathing grew in his heart. The heavenly powers that Aatrox had once embodied had been wiped from the world and all memory.
Aatrox is kind of sad. It is. Glorious general who's empowered to, like, try to save his people against the fucking darkness. Their fucking emperor, like, gets betrayed and fucking dies and their empire, like, falls apart and shit. they're all like vying for power, and they end up being like corrupted by this insane fucking power that like ends up leading to them being trapped in and bound into weapons, especially in the case of Aatrox, who's like eternally suffering and like looking for something that's powerful enough to destroy him. It's like, geez. Damn, bro. This is pretty fucked up. This is pretty fucked up, man.
Raging against this injustice, he arrived at a solution that could only be born of a prisoner's desperation. If he could not destroy the blade or free himself, then he would embrace oblivion instead. Now Aatrox marches toward this merciless goal, bringing war and death wherever he goes. He clings to a blind hope. If he can drive all of creation into a final apocalyptic battle, where everything else is destroyed, then maybe he and the blade will also cease to exist.
It'd be such a cool storyline for them to do something like that with Sargeras, but, you know, I'd prefer he be the hero who gets liberated, but that won't happen. But the whole, like, driven to the end, like, Sargeras imprisoned in, like, the demon body with the Darkin blade controlled by the Pantheon, who, like, brings about Ragnarok, like Surt from Norse mythology, and, you know, Renalash comes, and then he fucking dies or whatever, like, they finally all... He's like looking for the final end kind of thing. Yeesh, dude. It's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy. It's interesting though, because in World of Warcraft, there's a chance that like triggering that is what triggers kind of this universal reset or something along those lines. But it's just speculation. It's not for sure at all. So.
His bio is followed by a shorter story called Cage. A story from Aatrox's view while sealed inside the blade. Darkness. The breath I cannot take plagues me. It is an emptiness in my lungs and throat, as if I had stopped mid-breath and then held my lungs cruelly waiting. My mouth open, throat hollow, unable to pull in air. My chest, the horrible tension in my throats. My limbs and muscles refuse to move. I cannot breathe. I am choking. The pressure builds. The stillness spreads to my chest and limbs. I want to scream, to tear at my face, to wail, but I am trapped. I cannot move. I cannot move. Darkness.
This reminds me so much of Illidan being imprisoned. It was pretty horrific. It's pretty horrific. Being imprisoned in like a stasis where you can't move or do anything, that is horrifying. Dude, that is horrifying. That would drive anyone insane. Like that would drive you insane unless you're a Giga Chad like Illidan. but yeah.
I must remember. The battle. I lost control. It was foolish. The mortals formed in ranks against me. I crashed into them, drank from them. The temptation was too great. As I reaped, I reforged their flesh into a better approximation of my true shape. Desperately, I consumed more and more, hoping for the briefest echo of what I once was.
So interesting. If blood magic is tied to this, like, consumption thing, the conversion of flesh and blood and flesh and blood and bone to, like, amalgamous, like, horrific creatures, dude. Man, blood magic is so fucking cool. I want to learn more about blood magic so fucking bad. We read about, like, almost anything I could find on one of my most, recent streams. We read about blood magic and got into a discussion about Zolani and the Darkin and all sorts of shit like that, hemomancy and all that stuff for a while. I can't wait to learn more about it, dude. It's one of my favorite things.
Instead, like a fire, I burned too quickly, destroying even my host form. Darkness. It was raining when we fought.
Instead, like a fire, I burned too quickly, destroying my host's form. Man, anytime I listen to Aatrox stuff, fuck, man. It inspires me so much for ideas about Sargeras. Fuck. It's such a blessing and a curse, man.
What if the mud and filth cover me? What if I'm hidden for thousands of years? Trapped in this prison. The horror of that idea feeds my panic. The battle is ending. I can feel it. I must will my form upright. I have no arms or legs. The darkness binds me, like a cocoon. No, I will myself upright. But I can't know if it is working. I cannot know anything but the darkness. Please, let some mortal find me, please. I beg the darkness endlessly, but the humiliation of my plea is answered only with silence. But then, I feel a mortal nearby. I have no eyes, no ears, but I can feel his approach. He is fleeing from adversaries. He must try to defend himself. He must grasp me. Can he see me? He could run past me. I would be left here. I feel his hand grip this form and his consciousness opens to me. I burrow into him, pulling him down. I am like a drowning man thrown into the sea by a shipwreck, dragging myself to the surface by clawing past my fellows. What's happening? The mortal screams, but he is silenced by the darkness. The endless darkness I have just escaped, and I have eyes. I can see the falling rain, the muck, the blood of this slaughtering field. In front of me stand two weary knights with spears. I cut them apart and drink in their forms, recrafting this body to my needs. They are weak. I must move quickly. I must find a better wielder, a better host.
So interesting. Mortals are the key to a Darkin prison. Like, it's how they get out, it's how they manifest. Man, that's fucking interesting to me, dude. Someone has to wield it. It's so fucked up. It's so cool, though.
I must move quickly. I must find a better wielder, a better host. Around me are only the dead and dying. I hear their souls retreating from this world. The fighting has not ended. It's moved inside the city walls. I force my new shape, limping, crawling, toward the sound of battle, toward a better host. I roar, but not in triumph, never in triumph. I will drink from that city, but I will achieve only a grotesque mockery of my former glory. I was shaped by the stars in the purity of my aspect. I was light and reason given shape. I defended this world in the greatest battle ever known. Now, blood and ichor drips from the stolen flesh as it decays. The muscles and bones struggle, tear and protest the abomination I have become. I take a breath. No, Aatrox, I say, my voice wet and echoing of the dead that surround me. We will go onward, and onward, and onward, until the final oblivion comes.
And just in case you didn't believe me, it's right here. I was shaped by stars and the purity of my aspect. It is likely that the Sunborn or the Darkin were created by the Targonians to help them in their conquest against the Void. But before we go into the final piece of the Darkin lore, we should talk about Varus. His lore was also changed, so let's have a look at what happened to him.
Would be interesting to know if someone like Pantheon could hold back Aatrox's domination like Kayn can with Rost. Yeah, because Atreus's like key character trope, in my opinion, is man's sheer willpower. But I think it makes me wonder, what is a more absolute form of domination? Would it be the domination from someone like the Black Mist and the Ruined King? Or would it be from something like Aatrox? Because if Pantheon can't, if Aatrox is a higher level and Pantheon can't resist the domination that he's already undergone twice, by the way, I don't think that he'd be able to resist Aatrox. But it is a really fun concept to think about. Like, could anyone do it? Like, could anyone? I don't know.
Regardless of what he would later become, Varus was once a paragon of loyalty and honor. A skilled archer in the ancient Shuriman Empire. He was appointed as a temple warden in the eastern states, and he held his duty sacred above all else. During the earliest stages of the war with Icathia, even though it lay far from that cursed place, Varus's homeland was attacked. While other wardens abandoned their posts to join the defense of the outlying villages, he alone remained, screaming in anguish with every arrow he loosed.
Giga Chad.
For he had chosen to uphold his oaths rather than return home to protect his own family. Emissaries from the ascended host found him kneeling in solemn meditation amid the corpses of his foes. It was said that his cold gaze unsettled even the god warriors themselves. And yet, in recognition of his noble sacrifice, Varus was offered a place in their ranks. As one of the Great Ascended, he was utterly consumed by his pursuit of vengeance against the Icathians and the voidling horrors they had unleashed. It is likely that Varus did not even fully comprehend Shurima's ultimate victory in that war. So twisted had his mind become, nor the Empire's fall centuries later. Atrocity after atrocity blurred together, leaving him as a withdrawn colors killer, reshaped and sent into battle countless times by his degenerate brethren. Their name became feared throughout the known world. The DARKIN, warring among themselves. They destroyed any other who stood against them. With his crystalline bow, Varus assassinated enemy commanders and champions, helping the DARKIN defeat entire mortal armies with ever greater ease.
It's so fucking interesting to me, man. The color palette for these fucking DARKIN. I'm telling you, dude, it aligns with different like demon color palettes that I've seen. I'm just saying, man. Even some of the transformation on like the arm. In the fucking Kin of the Stained Blade cinematic, you watch some spikes come out of this fucking demon's back and they're like purple and shit like that too. And it just gives me like that purple fucking... It doesn't really matter, man. I can't shake this fucking feeling that it's connected somehow. But I can't prove it. So I gotta move on.
Eventually, Varus was cornered by Vastayan Moonstalkers and human mages in service of a golden armored warrior queen of Valoran. They bound him within his bow, leaving him to howl in impotent rage. By then, the raw corrupting influence of the DARKIN was known. And yet, still the queen chose to wield the deadly weapon in the final days of the war, gladly sacrificing herself for a greater victory. In the months that followed, the queen carried Varus to the First Lands, those that would be later known as Ionia. Now made monstrous by the bow's power, her last act was to command her fellows to bury her alive in the lightless well, sunk
To bury her. I love it, dude.
deep beneath a mountain temple overlooking the village of Pallas. And there, Varus was imprisoned, both by the natural magics of Ionia and the ritual ministrations of the temple guardians. And after that, we all know what happened.
I don't know what happened exactly.
So now it's time to have a look at the Legend of the DARKIN, the final piece of the DARKIN lore. The DARKIN are thrice cursed, once by the ancient enemy they faced, again by the fall of their glorious empire, and finally by the betrayal that had damned them for all eternity. When the rebels of Icathia foolishly unleashed the Void in battle, Shurima's defense was led, as ever, by the legendary Ascended. Imbued with the power of the Sun Disk, these god warriors towered over mortal soldiers, wielding magic and blade with equal ease, and eventually they were victorious. Even so, the horrors of the war took a heavy toll, and those who lived to remember it were perhaps never quite as they once were.
Right, because obviously there's god warriors that didn't become DARKIN, like Renekton and Nasus, as a couple examples, right? So it's not like every single one turned into a fucking DARKIN. And Azir, sure.
Centuries later, with the loss of mighty Azir at the very moment of his ascension, Shurima fell. Although apparently immortal, the god warriors had been born human. Gradually, with no emperor to lead them, many of the surviving Ascended began to falter in purpose as their older petty ambitions resurfaced.
Oh, that scythe looks
They taught
dope.
themselves forbidden sorceries, and came to view themselves as the rightful inheritors of the world. Notice that the story mentions the DARKIN teaching themselves forbidden sorceries.
Cain and
This
Ross
is
stuff is
likely
cool.
blood magic,
Yeah.
and it is the reason why they have all sorts of
Ancient hemomancy. I agree, Necrit. The same thing that Zolani learned and the same thing that her parents learned. Yes, sir. I would love to know more about that hemomancy.
shapes. There is even a piece of art describing what they did with the magic, crafting their own flesh and armor with equal ease, until they were completely...
Blood magic enables full-blown flesh crafting. Interesting if you contrast that with World of Warcraft.
unrecognizable as the noble warriors they had once been. The sacred mortal populace named these tyrants Darkin, a whispered curse translating roughly in the old tongue as the Fallen. But even the Darkin could not escape the sickness of soul that had come from fighting against the Void for so long. After centuries of uneasy alliance, they inevitably turned against one another, and so began the Great Darkin War. This conflict spread from Shurima to Valoran and beyond. The renegade god warriors and the armies they raised were unstoppable, and entire nations were crushed between them. It seemed as though this would be the end of all things.
Sick, dude.
Until, unexpectedly, the mages of Runeterra learned how to contain the remaining Darkin. Through secrecy and cunning artifice, the physical forms of the Ascended could be merged with the celestial power in their hearts, and all of it bound within the weapons they bore. With their leaders imprisoned forever, the rampaging hordes were broken and slain. These Darkin weapons were hidden, many of them carefully guarded by the mortal civilizations that grew in the aftermath, for it was clear that such power could be locked away, but never destroyed. And should such power fall into the wrong hands, the Darkin will surely rise once more.
Yeah, the whole, like, the lore of them being in prison as well, like, oh god, I don't need to get into all that, but I think it's really interesting. I think it's really cool.
And that's it for the Darkin. I hope you enjoyed this little trip through this massive chunk of Runeterra's history.
It's good.
What is that? Twilight of the Gods? Well, that story is a little bit longer and far more detailed, so it would take a lot more time to cover. So we
Which I will watch.
We'll do a separate video on that. Now, that's gonna be it for this video though, so if you liked this new format, you know what to do. Our social media, everything, you know what to do. I don't even have to tell you. So, I guess I will thank our patrons as they are scrolling through this side now. But, I guess, as always, thank you, come again.
Thank you, come again, he said. Nice. Nice, nice. Okay, the next thing I have on my list is Aatrox special interactions. And just so you guys know, I do understand that there's a difference between regular voice lines and interactions. I'm going to say this again. I've already watched the Aatrox voice lines. I've already listened to those. Okay?
You will obey your general, coward.
No, you will obey your blood. To me, Aatrox, we have a common enemy.
There is no greater enemy than cowardice.
A little bit blinded by ideals there.
There she is, the coward of Acacia.
Acacia.
Closer, Aatrox. Come to me. You never would listen, Aatrox, but now you will.
Yeah, I like how all of her lines are, like, obviously referring to the whole blood magic control thing. It's cool.
I will not bend as easily as your puppets, coward.
Yeah. And how he calls her coward because obviously her intention was to stop the conflict and unite them all together. Obviously, so from Aatrox's point of view, she's a fucking coward. She wanted to go a different way rather than stick to their ideals, which didn't really work very well for them. So, yeah.
The blade of Acacia himself. Good.
Let us end this madness, Alani.
Yours is the one death I will abide.
Huh. All of the Darkin hate her? I know.
I've waited centuries for this, coward. You are soft, Varus, weak, too human.
At least I remember my lost mortality. Seek revenge, brother, not oblivion.
Such mortal emotions are unbecoming of a Darkin.
Too soft.
The blade of Acacia has dulled, we see.
We see.
No
I like
matter,
that.
it will take only a single swing to fell you.
By my spear, the gods will know war.
By my sword, they already do.
Banger. It's a sick line.
We were never fated to bow.
No, Pantheon. You were fated to die.
How'd that
I
go?
long for the day when this is over.
As do I, Rune Mage. The Rune Mage, come to watch his precious world die.
No, come to stop you, whatever it takes. Enough, Aatrox! Stop this madness!
Madness is exactly what I will end, Rise.
You would destroy all this for your peace?
It is the only path, and so I gladly walk it. I pray time has mended you, Captain. Is the Captain ready to serve his general once more? It waited in the dark, the void. Easy, Captain. Your peace is at hand.
That shielding was Darkin Aegis. That's like a Darkin shield. Or is that what that was? Before? You're all so sad. The most PTS guy of a Darkin. Tough. The Aegis of Eternity. You're all my goat. He looks pretty sick, dude.
General, you're alive. A curse we shall both break this day. Only a dead star could withhold your power, Horazi.
Only a dead star.
Stand, Horazi! We must fight once more!
Come, Aatrox. Darkness beckons.
A darkness I will readily embrace. Old friend, let us embrace oblivion.
I am ready to watch existence die.
Yo, that's a hard ass line, dude.
Ibaros, is that you? Such power, Ibaros? Ibaros, old friend, let us end this. I will speak for us both, old friend. Ascension took death from us, and peace. What became of the Blessed Isles? General, we fight together once more. This is the last war, Tarosh. Then peace. Tarosh, did the coward try her tricks on you? Yes, General, but old scars remembered their lessons.
Banger line.
What is this Bandle magic, Balcox? Two great powers somehow spliced together.
That's some nightmare shit right there. Like literal Emerald nightmare shit. Nature and Darkin blood magic. Huh. What the fuck?
How can I forget the names of my kin? We used weapons of war, then became them. They cast us to the corners of the world.
There's so many Darkin weapons. What the
This
fuck?
was the thanks we were offered. Return to me, soldier of war. Not even realms could divide us, old friend.
Not even the spirit realm.
There is no music as soothing as silence.
That line goes hard.
The thrum of war must sound one more time.
I will end thee at thy insistence.
Mother of fucking Kale and Morgana here.
Yes, come face me.
There are some that are trapped without a host, so they can't answer Aatrox. That makes sense. Because they need a vessel, basically, to act or speak or do anything. Otherwise, they're just held in eternity.
I remember this place and the endless blood. Solani, I will break you on your altar! This is the final war! Darkin, awaken! We are unshackled! I will raise chaos!
Them making Aatrox the general of the Darkin is a good play, man. I think it gives, like, more structure. It kind of shows that even the Darkin have a little bit of an order structure there. And it's not just like, no hold, every man for himself kind of thing. It's pretty sick.
Apocalypse comes!
Even in their twisted form, they have that.
I am the world ender! Runeterra must die! I bring oblivion!
Banger.
Yes! Oblivion! After all these years, I can finally rest.
Yeah, he has fucking sick lines, dude. Is this his, like, login screen? This is what you guys are talking about? Shut the fuck up, RuneScape. Yeah, I think I heard this when I listened to his quotes. Yeah, it's very foreboding. Dark. Yeah, you can see this guy hiding under like a broken tree. This is like the song you'd expect to... Yeah, polyrhythmic because he's chaotic. Yeah, I noticed that. Kind of caught me off guard. Fucking A, dude. It is a banger. Oh. This is like what happens when he fucking spots you, dude. Now he's gonna get you. Could be a Doom track? Yeah, yeah. Dude, have you heard this? You're walking around the MMO and all of a sudden this starts playing. Like the boss music just comes on. You're just like... I guess with Aatrox, where you should be looking is up. Yeah, that's sick. I hadn't heard that yet.